Hello guys, today we're gonna talk about a book named History of Western Philosophy, written by Bertrand Russel. Let's talk about my summary of this influence of Sparta from the book. Number 1. Sparta's social and political system. Russell outlines the Spartan way of life, which was characterized by extreme militarism, strict discipline and obedience to the state, the suppression of individuality for the collective good. He emphasized how Sparta prioritized the state over personal freedoms, aiming for stability and military supremacy. Number 2. Admirations by Greek philosophers. Russell notes that Plato in particular idealized aspect of Sparta's political system. Plato admired the communal way of life, the prioritization of education and discipline for the good of the state, the equality in Spartan society. In the Republic, Plato echoes Spartan's ideals in his vision of a philosopher king and a highly regimented society. Number 3. The philosophical influence of Spartan ideals. Spartan's ideals contributed to philosophical discussions about the nature of justice, the role of the individual versus of the collective, the structure of an ideal state. Russell points out that while Spartan influence shaped utopian visions, it often came at the expense of personal liberty and innovation. Number 4. Criticism of Spartan ideals. Russell criticized Sparta for its lack of intellectual and artistic achievement, attributing this to its rigid system. He argues that the Spartan model stifled creativity and progress, favoring conformity and subjugation. Russell also highlights the darker side of Spartan society, including the oppression of the Helots and the severe restrictions on personal freedom. Number 5. Sparta's legacy and Western thought. Russell explores how Spartan's ideals are faced in later political theories, particularly in authoritarian regimes that emphasize order and discipline over individual rights. He contrasts Spartan collectivism with the more dynamic and individualistic culture of Athens, which he views as more conducive to intellectual and artistic progress. Let's move into Russell's perspective. While he acknowledges Sparta's historical significance and influence on philosophical thought, Russell views it as a cautionary tale. He argues that a society overly focused on discipline and the collective can lead to stagnation and oppression, undermining human creativity and happiness. My opinion about History of Western Philosophy is an impressive book, but it reflects both the strengths and limitations of Russell's perspective. The chapter on the influence of Sparta is particularly interesting because it explores how Spartans' ideals of discipline, order, and collectivism shaped the ideas of philosophers like Plato. Russell does a great job connecting Sparta's rigid way of life to its influence on political and philosophical thought. His critique of Spartan militarism and the suppressions of individual freedom is sharp and thought-provoking, especially when he compares it to the more creative and individualistic culture of Athens. This contrast raises timeless questions about the balance between state control and personal freedom, which are still relevant today. However, Russell's analysis can be feel a bit one-sided, as he tends to dismiss the value of Spartan discipline and communal values in favor of his preference for liberal ideals. The book as a whole is a fantastic introduction to Western philosophy. Russell's writing is clear, witty and accessible, making complex ideas easy to understand, even for readers new to philosophy. It's a sweeping overview that covers major thinkers and movements from ancient Greece to the early 20th century. What sets it apart is Russell's willingness to critique the philosopher he discusses, which makes the book engaging and thought-provoking. That said, the book has its flaws. Russell's personal biases, like his skepticism of religion and preference for rationalism, can make some of his critics feel unfair or oversimplified. He also focuses almost entirely on European philosophy, overlooking other traditions and sometimes sacrifices historical accuracy for the sake of making a point. Overall, the book is a great read and a brilliant starting point for anyone interested in philosophy. However, it's best approached with the understanding that it reflects Russell's personal views and isn't a neutral account. To get a well-rounded perspective, it's a good idea to read other works alongside it. I think that's all about my explanations about the influence of Sparta's chapter from the History of Western book written by Bertrand Russell. Thank you very much.